How does it feel when you contrast leaving and now kind of returning after 30 years?
No, more than 50.
50 years.
Yes, for me.
I don't know what to expect, but I do hope to see some remnants of my former life.
I think I'm going to start crying very soon.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's going to sacred hallowed ground.
So as Singapore is urbanizing over time, there was a realization that more land was needed. So the decision was made to actually use the islands as an extended space of Singapore. So in the 1970s, you started to have quite a few of our islands being resettled. Even though resettlement was actually used as a word, some people would actually call it displacement. They had to dismantle their own homes. Can you imagine how it was like for them to not only have to leave their homes, but also to actually have to take it down with their own hands?
So how do you feel about what you see here today? I mean, it's definitely very different from the visual that you grew up with, the imagery, the sounds, the smells maybe. How do you connect that to your memories?
For me, I'm very happy to see that the main part of the island is still intact. But my place where I used to go, like the school, the landmark where I used is no longer around.
So how do you connect it, Wong? How do you feel?
It doesn't feel like my island at all. I feel a sadness. I think it's just been cemented over.
So do you remember when we received the news about moving out of the island, the resettlement?
I think I was in denial. To me, how can something I thought so permanent be taken away from us? It's our house and our village.
Yeah, I remember we were one of the last houses to go. The image that's planted in my brain is about seeing the skeleton of the houses, because they pulled down the houses to sell the wood, right? We got 1,000 for the whole wonderful house we had.
The thing I hate most about the relocation was the fact that because my father is worried about the new environment, I'm not allowed to go out. So we heard stories of our friends who relocated earlier being involved in drugs when they go downstairs because they're very naive. Some of them were actually hooked into drugs very early. So my father don't allow me to go anywhere. So life was really miserable for me. My grades dropped a lot. I was pretty lost. And it goes on for many years.
The economic impact on some of the families probably have not been completely addressed to this very day. The boat building skills, the house building skills, and also just the knowledge of the sea. All that became irrelevant. Whatever occupations they could do on the mainland were ill-suited to the excellent skills they already had. If you can imagine the upheaval and the trauma, actually.
Do you remember that some of our relatives actually couldn't afford to buy a house when they are relocated?
Yeah.
I mean, we are lucky because Papa has a permanent job, while some of those were fishermen and no real livelihood in terms of employment. They have to rent flats rather than own a house.
I know of at least a few families in Bukit Merah who still live in rental flat and they can't upgrade themselves. So I think that's one of my sadnesses.
The port is such a natural feature to me as a Singaporean who grew up in the 80s and 90s,
Port is a
right?
natural.
To me, I mean, like, this is part of my upbringing. Like, the Singapore national bird is a crane, right? So, like, maybe you guys had to sacrifice a bit for me to grow up in a comfortable.
We sacrificed a lot.
Maybe like it was the sacrifice at the time so that your descendants can have a comfortable life, and maybe we'll come back. We'll see. We'll hope.
Yeah, they seem to need the area
Yeah.
and they reclaim quite a lot of it.
I mean, I don't see Brani coming back to life in its original form, but I think we can commemorate it in other ways.
We must never forget that once upon a time in Singapore, we were not just dwellers of HDB flats. We had more diverse ways of living, ways of having wonderful childhood. And I think that's important for Singaporeans to remember.